Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's virtual meeting regarding the Delta Hotel temporary shelter programs. My name is Olga. I will be doing introductions today. I am joined by my colleague Joanne, who we both work for the counselor's office, and Joanne will be moderating tonight. I would like to start with the introductions to the panelists that we have tonight. I would like to start with Councillor Karygiannis. Councillor, are you there?
I'm with you. Can you hear me?
There we go.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us this evening. As we go through COVID-19, meeting online has become the new norm. Please stay safe and watch after your families and your loved ones.
Councillor, you're echoing. Hold on a second. Please.
Can I continue?
You're still echoing. Perhaps you have two devices on.
Oh, I'm going to get off this device then. Is this better?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, much better.
Good evening, everyone. I'll start again, and thank you for joining in this evening. As we go through COVID-19, meeting online has become the new norm. Please stay safe and watch after your families and loved ones. As I am told, there's a few hundred residents joining in tonight. We ask that you provide your questions and comments in advance. This is only listen in this virtual meeting. This meeting is being held as a follow-up to the meeting which we had a few days ago with stakeholders joining us tonight. I have invited city staff, shelter providers, which were providers that were contracted by the city to provide services to the homeless, as well as 42 Division. They will introduce themselves in a few minutes. Please note, this was not my decision to bring members of the homeless community to the Delta. Having said that, however, we all have to work together to provide assistance to our fellow Torontonians and make sure we're all safe in this crucial time. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to my assistants, Joanne and Olga, and get many of your questions and comments addressed by the stakeholders, 42 Division Station, and city staff. We will try to record this meeting and make it available to you at your request. Thank you again for joining. Should you require a follow-up meeting, I will ask city staff to facilitate in the near future. Thank you again, and good evening to all.
Thank you, Councillor. Next, I would like to introduce Brad Boucher and Justin Lewis from the City of Toronto. We'll start with you, Brad.
Hi, good day, everyone. My name is Brad Boucher. I'm the Manager of Operations and Support with Shelter Support and Housing. Thanks all for joining us tonight, and hopefully we're able to provide you with a bunch of information that that you're going to find useful and helpful. So looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you very much. Next, I would like to introduce Justin Lewis. Justin, are you here? Hello? Okay, we will go back to him in a moment. I would, in the meantime, like to go to some of our shelter program staff members and directors. Grace, can I start with you? Hold on. We can't hear you. There's no audio. Hold on, let's try. Try speaking now. No, we still can't hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, Justin. Okay.
Okay,
Justin,
I apologize.
So I'm so sorry, Grace. We'll revert back to you in a moment. Let's go to Justin Lewis first from the city.
I do apologize for that mix-up. My headset was doing something. So I'm Justin Lewis. I'm the Director of Infrastructure Planning and Development for Shelter Support and Housing Administration Division at the city. Responsible for looking for and siting new shelter locations, as well as the development and capital construction of new sites. As well, I'm here to support Brad to speak to some of the questions that we are having presented to us tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Justin. I would like to go actually, whilst we fix the issues with Grace, I'd like to go to Ryan Evershed, who is with Homes First. Ryan?
Hi guys, my name is Ryan Evershed. I'm the Community Engagement Supervisor with Homes First. I oversee not only just the Delta Hotel, but all the 9 shelters and 13 RGI buildings that Homes First runs across the city.
Perfect.
We also have Alex Perry here, who's the shelter manager.
Great. I will revert over to Alex right now for her to introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex. Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm the site manager at the Delta. I'm with Homes First, and I oversee the day-to-day operations for Homes First side of the organization and structure of the Delta.
Thank you. Let's go over to Shelley Jacobin, who is the director at Kennedy House. Shelley? Okay. Let's try Megan Delfoy, also with Kennedy House. Megan?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Megan.
Hi, good. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Delhoy, and I'm the manager of shelter services for Kennedy House Youth Shelter, both our shelter site as well as the Delta site.
Thank you very much.
Shelley may be having a little bit of microphone problems, so she may just be back on quick shortly.
Okay, perfect. I will revert back to Eva's initiatives. First, I will try Grace again, and if not, I will switch over to Monique also with Eva's initiative. Grace, are you there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Finally, yes.
Oh, awesome. I'm Grace Costa. I'm the Director of Crisis and Community Integration at Eva's Initiatives, and I oversee all of our 4 locations, which now includes the Delta Hotel as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I will switch over to Monique. Monique? Okay, we're having a little bit of technical issues on that end, some echoey noises. Okay, lastly, we have 42 Division. I will start with Sergeant Richard Shaw. Sergeant Shaw?
Hi, Olga.
Yes.
Some people are saying that they're muted by the host.
Oh, that's strange. Hold on. Yeah, I've unmuted the 42 Division members. Inspector Gotel, are you there?
I am.
Okay, we'll start with you. Inspector Gotel, could you do a brief introduction?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jim Gotel. I'm the unit commander at 42 Division. So for those of you who don't know, 42 Division goes from Highway 401 to Steeles and from the Pickering border to Victoria Park Avenue.
Okay, great, thank you. Sergeant Shaw, are you there? Okay, we'll revert back as we sort through the microphone issues. On to you, Joanne. We will start with the questions that we've received from residents.
Thank you, Olga. Welcome, everyone. I'm Joanne, Councillor Karygiannis' executive assistant. I will be reading out the questions that were forwarded to our office in advance, and I'm going to try my best to direct them to one of the panelists. However, if another panelist has further information that they'd like to add, please feel free to jump in. I'll begin with the first question. First question is for city staff. What is the length of stay for the shelter programs in the Delta? And is there an end date?
Brad?
Yep. Thanks, Joanne. It's so currently we are in the process of extending all of our temporary sites to at least the end of April of 2021. We need to see what's going to happen with this second round of COVID and potentially what's going to happen there. And we also need some time to plan kind of what happens after that in terms of what the shelter system looks like and where people are going to go. We're also still required to maintain the 2 meters of physical distancing within our shelter sites as per public health. So we continue to require this additional space. April 31st is kind of the date that we're saying right now, but it's all kind of very dependent on what happens in the second go around with COVID, and kind of what happens after that in terms of our space requirements within the shelter system.
Okay, thank you. Also, now this question is both for city and shelter programmers. How many clients are there in total at the hotel right now?
I can answer that quickly if you want, Joanne.
Okay.
We currently have 46 youth as of today, 46 youth and 262 adults in the program at the Delta.
Okay, and that is with 3 shelter programs, right?
That's correct.
Okay. The next one is for the shelter staff. Are new clients being taken in? For example, if others leave, if there are some homeless people that leave, are new clients being brought in to occupy the vacant rooms? Grace? Ryan, Alexander, someone?
Hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So for EVA's initiatives, the process is that we will bring in clients to the hotel, but we bring them in through our shelter system, meaning the clients first come into the shelter, we get to know them, and then we move them to the hotel if they're suitable to go to the hotel, meaning they're able to live at the hotel with supports we provide. That's right now the process we have in place.
I can also speak to as well, Olga. So for Homes First, we work pretty strictly with the city through Streets to Homes. How it works on our end is when a client is no longer in our program, the room becomes vacant for another intake. So we take on as many clients as we can if the rooms are vacant.
Thank you very much.
Sorry. Kennedy House is the same as EVA's. We do not directly intake to the hotel program. We do a screening process through our shelter program and then admit to the hotel program as they are fit for it.
Thank you very much. Our next question is going to be for either Brad or Justin, city staff. What was the reason for the swift move-in and lack of consultation? Was it like a COVID-19 measure, or is there a larger issue, for example, not enough space to house the homeless in existing shelters?
Hi, Brad here. I can certainly speak to that. So the ramp up of the Delta was certainly entirely related to COVID, and the requirement that we had to ensure that there was proper physical distancing within the shelter system. For those that don't know, we moved more than 3,000 people from shelters and into various other secondary programs like the programs at the Delta in order to ensure that our clients remained safe and that we had the appropriate physical distancing in place in our locations. So this was entirely COVID related. And that being said, and secondly, around the lack of consultation, we were directed under emergency orders from City Council to take this path of utilizing motels and secondary spaces to keep our clients safe. And on top of that, because of the COVID situation, and at the time there were many non-essential job functions that were kind of eliminated or put on hold at the time we were responding, and a lot of those non-essential functions included some of the engagement processes, including the staff that were involved with those processes, who were all deployed to more frontline work for their clients. So that's kind of the explanation as to why things moved so quickly, and also why we didn't follow what is a red process for us in terms of consultating and we shelter programs.
And if I could just add to that, Olga, it's Justin. We also, in normal circumstances, when there is not a pandemic, we would usually start our engagement process 6 to 9 months in advance of having a program open within any community. It's unfortunate, but through the pandemic and through the need to be able to provide that physical distancing, we had to ensure that we were going out to the locations, and it did not allow for enough time or enough resources to be able to do the engagement. It's not an excuse, it's just what is the actual environment today. So.
Okay, thank you very much. This question is for all the panelists. Are additional security measures being added on site? For example, extra cameras, security patrol, etc.?
Yeah, I can take a crack at that. So yes, Homes First is having additional exterior security cameras being installed, along with additional signage on the inside of the building, sort of outlining our good neighbor policy and proper regulations and COVID response, sort of proper protocol as well. We also have a community safety team that the city is sort of has given us that bridges the gap between security and social workers. 9 security guards on site as well, providing sort of around the clock services. Alex, maybe you can add and talk a little bit about the community safety team.
Yeah, this may actually go into the next couple of questions that we have, but this community safety team, it's 2 people. They're with us 24 hours a day, every day of the week. They actually focus primarily on the residents that are close to the building, as well as any surrounding areas. So, like the park and local businesses. Their main focus is just to update us on any high risk areas that are starting to develop or have developed so that we can properly follow up. They also have been very, very diligent on picking up any type of paraphernalia that may be around area, which has again been a great help for us to make sure that concern is addressed.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Sorry.
Next, yeah.
Can I just add that EVAS has a community outreach worker that has reached out to some of the business in the surrounding areas, and the contact information has been left with the business in the neighborhood. Should there be any issues, they can contact the person immediately, and they would then provide some support and follow up with us as well.
Thank you very much. Next question. Is there a plan to put perhaps a safe injection site at the Delta to address the issue of needles littered in the community spaces?
Hi, Brad here. There currently is no plan in place to put a safe injection site at the Delta.
Thank you very much. Next question. Are there screening procedures in place for clients prior to placement in the Delta?
So,
Brad?
Sorry, Megan, were you going to say something?
I was, but take it away, Brad. It's all yours. I'm sure you're going to say what I was going to say.
Okay. So we don't currently, in the shelter system, and now in our expanded COVID shelter system, we do not, that's not something that we prescribe to is screening measures in place related to outstanding warrants. That being said, we do work closely with the Toronto Police, and if they need our assistance in terms of making sure that particular locations are safe or identifying certain folks, we do that through a process we have in place at head office.
Okay, thank you. Next question. To address the COVID-19, what health measures are being enforced in and out of the hotel?
So I think you're referring to screening, right? So I think we'll let we'll let the health screening. So I think we'll let our shelter providers speak a little bit to what they have in place there.
So I don't know if sorry, Megan, do you want to go?
No. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
So on our side at Homes First, we actually do a daily screening of all our clients. These screens are completed every 24 hours. If there are any concerns that appear, there's a very strict process that we follow in collaboration with the city to ensure that there's safe transportation and assessment being completed, and individuals are not allowed to return back to the hotel if there are any positive tests. In addition to that, social distancing is strongly enforced here. We strongly encourage our clients to wear masks. We provide them masks upon request. We try to give them reusable masks at any time. We try and limit any type of communal spaces in the building. So our, meal process has been very specific, and we've been learning as we go a little bit there just to make sure everyone is staying safe. And also all of our staff are well equipped with PPE. We work very closely with Toronto Public Health, the city, and also our own internal health and safety committee to make sure that, we're just, that never becomes a negotiation. The COVID policies and procedures are always being followed. Ryan, I don't know if you want to add anything there.
Yeah, you pretty much covered it. We don't have a ton of volunteer activity or visitors to the site, but of course, any visitors have to do the Toronto Public Health screening beforehand, have face masks, and make sure that they're sanitizing their hands before entry. And group sizes are limited. We have social distancing signage inside the building everywhere, sort of outlining proper social distancing and things like that. But I think you covered most of it, Alex.
I'll just add one more thing. We've also made sure that even when clients are transported up to the Delta, that the city is doing a screening before the clients are brought to the location as well.
And at EVAS, we follow the same directives. So Toronto Public Health directives, the city directives, all the youth are screened once a day as well. Temperatures are taken. Staff have protocols as well. They also have their temperature taken. Masks need to be worn at all times. So it's exactly the same protocols we have in place because we're all invested in ensuring that there is no cross-contamination, not among ourselves, and certainly not in the community either.
At Kent, we're doing similar as well. We screen multiple times a day as youth go in and out. We also encourage mask use as well as showering protocols if they've been out for a certain period of time. We've also limited our non-essential visitors. Essential visitors are required to wear PPE, as is our staff. Our staff is also mandatory tested for COVID once a month, and we get all the results back as well. And the other thing that we've done with our youth is during COVID, we've actually stopped non-essential overnights and stuff like that. So we try to keep them, as isolated as possible with social pieces and just incorporate all of that as well.
Great.
Shelley, are you there? Sorry, just 1 second. Shelley, are you there?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Great. Okay. Yep. Joanne, could you move on to the next question, please?
Thank you. This also, I think, is for the shelter staff. What support is being offered to shelter clients? For example, any kind of social work, counseling, helping with the transitioning out of the shelters, any addiction help, or anything like that while they're at the Delta?
Shelley, could we start with you, perhaps? This is Shelley. She is the director of Kennedy House.
Thank you. Shelley, are you there?
Okay, I think we're having issues again. Can we start? Megan, would you be able to offer anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the stuff that we're offering on site is internal mental health support, as well as we have connected with Inner City Health Associates for general medical as well as psychiatric support. We have harm reduction support in there, as well as we are running mandatory programs with our clients based on their goals and their needs. It's life skills based, housing, education, employment, self-care, all of those pieces. The other thing that we've been doing is really focusing on housing our young people, and have been able to house 15 youth since we moved in May. And we've also been doing virtual employment programs through community partners, where we've had more than half of our youth have become employed when they've been completed. And we also do some fun stuff as well in there, but we try to focus on the life skills so that they don't have to stay in the shelter system.
Great, thank you so much. Our next question is regarding community safety team.
Could I just share about Homes First? Is that okay?
Yes, for sure. Go ahead.
So yeah, no worries. So Homes First, we have a lot going on. So we are very much supported by Inner City Health Associates. That's through 3 nurses and 1 NP that are on shift Monday to Friday. We also have a pharmacist that's here every single day of the week, every single morning. In addition to that, we've connected to, I think, 2 addiction doctors that work with us virtually. All of these supports have already led, even in the last 7 weeks, to some significant change, positive change for our clients. We also have outreach programming starting. We have a peer support group or a floor rep on each floor. These are volunteer positions, our residents, and they really help keep an eye on everybody and support one another. We have a harm reduction worker that is here on a couple times a week. They also provide individual counseling and group programming for our clients. And we have a case management team that's starting up in the next week or so, who I believe are going to be a total of 4, and they are going to really help us ramp up on our housing supports, employment supports, financial supports, ID, anything like that. And then internally with our team, we've started a men's group, a weekly women's group. We've started 2 community groups as well to keep our clients busy and as stimulated as possible throughout their day. And the goal is to have a group running hopefully every evening of the week.
And
thank you very much.
So can I just add, for EVAs, it's similar programming. And we have activities running every day at the hotel for the young people. And I need to also highlight that a lot of the young people that are there at EVAs, they are ready to move to housing. So the focus of their goals is to move to housing in the community. So they have the supports built in to transition into the community. So that's just an additional piece that we focus on at EVAs, but everything else everybody said is lined up with EVA.
Great, thank you so much. With regards to the community safety team, can you please advise who's part of this group? What training do they have, and what are their responsibilities and powers do they have in responding to emergency situations?
Okay, so Brad here. I can speak a little bit. Yeah, I can speak a little bit to that. It's the company that provides this service is called One Community Solutions. We're using them at a number of our other COVID-related sites as well. And this is actually an example of one of the service improvements that we have made as a result of COVID. We really didn't have a service similar to this before COVID kind of entered our lives. But the staff at One Community Solutions, they don't like to be referred to as security guards. They are not licensed security enforcement. They are trained in verbal de-escalation, conflict resolution, diffusing hostility, and building relationships. And their role really is to help bridge the relationship between the community, the clients, and the shelter providers. and also to make sure that that the community remains a safe place. So they, as been mentioned previously, they're they're in the parks and areas, picking up paraphernalia and making sure that those areas remain safe and clean. They're trying to build relationships with local businesses and communicate with them, and also respond to any potential disturbances or issues if clients are having an impact on businesses or private property, and really to try and be that bridge to make sure that our shelter clients are being good neighbors, and that also to bring that information back to our shelter providers and to us at the city to make sure that if we need to implement additional measures that we can in the community that we are able to do that.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Brad. The next question is for the police and also shelter staff. Illicit drug use in public, exposure, panhandling, will there be a step-up response to such activities?
Yeah, it's Jim. What I can say to that, yes, there has been and there will continue to be. We've stepped up our patrols within the area. We've assigned officers from our neighborhood office and our community support response teams to keep an eye on that area and to increase the patrolling within that area.
Can you advise as to how many times does the patrol car go around as opposed to before the Delta was transformed into a homeless shelter?
Well, I would say I can't provide specific numbers, but I can say it's probably a lot more frequently now. So there's two aspects to our patrol. One is we have community officers that deal more with community long-term issues, which I would definitely say that this is within that area. But we also have our primary response police officers that are out driving around. So they've also been, they're working overnight as well. They're conducting frequent patrols in that area. So I would say it's been much more frequent.
Can you also clarify what you can respond to and what you're limited to respond to?
Certainly, and again, when we talk about the social crimes of public exposure or panhandling, again, that all depends on the circumstances. So it's not against the law to panhandle, but if somebody is panhandling in an aggressive or violent way, that's something different. Obviously, people are not allowed to panhandle on the highways, things of that nature. So we would assess it on a one-off basis, or every individual case we have to assess as it happens. But again, the officers that we have assigned to that area are community officers that are very good with de-escalation and dealing with people. And so we are keeping, a very close eye on what's going on.
Okay, and the step up in patrolling, is that specifically for the Metrogate area? Or is that also the surrounding area, neighborhood kind of thing?
That's the Metrogate area plus the surrounding neighborhoods as well. So I may as well say what I can say too as well. We've had a pretty good, I'd say we had an excellent working relationship with the Delta and with Homes First up to this point in time. We have established a good communication with them. We've assigned the sergeant in charge of the neighborhood officer program to act as a liaison. So he's been meeting with the hotel. He's been meeting with their security and their staff in order to come up with a coordinated response to enforcement within that area. So as the police, what I can say is because the Delta Hotel is private, we don't patrol private areas. So it's not our responsibility or our job to go into the Delta and conduct patrols within the Delta. That's private property. They have their own security there. And if they need us, they will call us. But I think they have a very good team there that are good at dealing with de-escalation. And so we do support them, and we will attend, and we have attended as we are required to attend the hotel. But our focus is going to be more to the external of the hotel, the surrounding areas. So the other thing, I may as well just jump ahead too, because we talked about trespassing and things like that. So I can say within the Village Green Square community, we have a number of trespass letters on file from the community, specifically for 115, 117, 119, 290, 320, 330, 295, 315, 125, 135, 141, 151, 181, 255, and 275 Village Green Square. So that includes the daycare and the retail stores. So we have the authority to enforce the Trespass to Property Act within that area. So if somebody is behaving in a belligerent manner, the police can remove them from that area.
Great, thank you so much. Can a curfew and trespassing measures be implemented? Brad, could you speak to that, or Shelley or Megan?
So within our own shelters, we have our own curfews that we create for our young people. So it changes from weekday to weekends. You know, we have a midnight curfew, and then we've limited. It used to be 1 to 2 a.m. We've essentially cut that short because now we have no overnights and whatnot. So we do install a curfew with our youth, which they do follow. And the other thing is we actually monitor our youth when they're in the community as well. We have conversations with them, kind of find out what's happening. We do walkarounds as well.
And sorry, I think I'm on, if I can just add it, Shelley, that we're constantly reviewing it. So if a situation presents itself, we'll review whatever protocols are in place and make the necessary adjustments.
Great, thank you so much.
I'm just wondering about homes for maybe Ryan or Alex can speak to kind of the what type of curfew, if any, is in place at the in their program.
Ryan, do you want me to go?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, we have a bed check that we do every night. We are dealing with a different population than the youth, right? So it's a bit trickier to enforce a curfew per se, but we do track, you know, individuals that are not here for bed check, and that does have a specific follow-up process if they are not here and they're not following being in their room at that specific time.
And for EVA's is the same, it's similar to Kennedy House. There is a curfew because again, we're dealing with young people. The curfew is meant to support their goals around getting to bed on time, going to work, going to school, making their appointments, those kinds of things. But the other piece too is like Homes First, we also have bed checks, and we make sure the bed checks are being done regularly to ensure that if young people aren't there, we need to follow up to make sure that we know where they are and when they're coming back and what has happened. So that is also in place at not just the Delta, but at all our locations at EVA's.
We do bed checks as well throughout the night.
I just wanted to add one other thing. I mean, I think in regards to this question, the trespassing part is more so, I'm assuming, for our community residents that are on the call. You know, today we installed a whole bunch of screamers that are going to be inputted or are put on each floor. I think that this will ultimately help on both sides with trespassing because it will limit the ability for to be in the area and to be able to get into the building for whatever reason. So it may lessen some traffic on the outside, and then obviously ensure that individuals are, you know, trying to get some sleep and staying in their room and having, again, a bit less traffic going in and out of the building.
Thank you very much. Will Agincourt and the surrounding wards in Scarborough see an increase in temporary shelter sites? Brad, can you take this one, or Justin?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we're not currently exploring any new locations in this area. So.
And is there a list of temporary shelters across the city?
So we're working on getting that information up onto our website. I have we have a website. Our general manager did a presentation last week for an online forum similar to this one for another one of our temporary locations. I can provide you with the website is www.toronto.ca /physical distancing shelters, which is all one word. And there's a presentation on the website, and it's something that we could probably package up so that we can get it out to all the folks that are listening right now. And it kind of identifies some of the wards where there's more shelter locations than others. So we're there's currently 3 wards that don't have any shelter sites. So obviously we would like to try and make sure that we're kind of evenly spacing out our locations amongst all of the particular wards in the city. So that information is available in that presentation, but we can certainly kind of try and package that up a little bit so it's and so we can get it out to the folks that are participating on this call.
Thank you so much, Matt. Can you also speak a little bit about why shelters they're being placed in residential areas as opposed to non-residential areas?
Sure. So obviously non-residential areas aren't really all that conducive to having folks living there. As we were going, when COVID first hit, we kind of the selection criteria that we used is as follows, right? So we were looking for sites that were turnkey ready, that require minimal retrofits, sites that were a suitable size to adequately allow us to meet our physical distancing guidelines, and sites that are available, accessible, and affordable. So, when you look at these criteria, it doesn't really speak to placing people in non-residential areas to kind of fit that. And again, I think we need to be conscious of the human factor here in terms of, wherever we're going to put a new facility, it needs to be somewhat suitable for people to live. So from that perspective, that's the criteria we use, and that's why we place people in locations that may be much more on the residential side than non-residential.
And if I could just add to information that he's sharing, of course, the city's goal is always to open new shelters in neighborhoods across Toronto so that people can stay within their communities. So our you. Toronto's housing charter, so there's an opportunity for all, and that was brought into place in 2017. We also work with our real estate services division to find feasible buildings and locations that are accessible. We'll provide added space, and we seek out sites that are in close proximity to community services, such as Brad said, like libraries, public parks, pharmacies, healthcare services, and public transit. So that's a lot of criteria that we use in both those things. But the number one goal is to open shelters, or these shelters that we've done in the temporary case across Toronto, so that people can stay in their communities.
Great, thank you so much.
And can I add one piece? For us, shelter service providers, our goal really is to support people transition into the community, and having shelters that are within neighborhoods actually facilitate young people's transition back into the community, into communities that have connections, that have housing for them, and that they know the neighborhood so that when they need support, they are being supported in that community. So that's something else that I think we need to put on the table in terms of it's critical for us to look at the location that supports people to transition from a shelter environment to stable housing in the community, because they are members of our community.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you so much for that.
I just want to add, sorry if I can, just a little positive piece. Our shelter is usually in East York. And when we brought young people into the Scarborough area and into the Delta, we actually saw a really nice change and they became a member of the community. A lot of the young people have actually gotten jobs in the community, like at the local Wendy's that's rehiring after it burnt down, some at Amazon. And so they actually have become residents of the Scarborough area. So introducing them to that neighborhood actually gave them a different outlook. And they're now members of the ones that have moved out of our hotel program are actually now members of the community.
That's great. Thank you very much. Brad, I think this one, or Justin, this question is for you. Scarborough has an existing homeless population. New clients mean resources spread more thinly to allow for people to be serviced. Is there any plan to alleviate the additional responsibilities that local agencies will face?
That's actually a great question and something I think that we need to be honest, to do some follow-up on. What I will say first off is that there were a number of existing shelters within Scarborough, shelters and rest services that we actually reduced in size quite significantly. So a lot of these, a lot of the clients that are currently living at the Delta may have previously been living at one of the other shelter sites in Scarborough. So that's just for consideration. So these folks may have already been residents of the Scarborough community. But that being said, I think it is worthwhile for us to maybe reach out to some of our homeless service providers, whether that be drop-ins or housing providers and shelter providers, to just do a quick check-in and assessment to see what kind of impact having all the folks at the Delta is having on the demands for their services and how we could potentially support them in that. So that's a great question and something that we'll definitely take back and act on.
Thank you very much, Brad. The next question is also for the city staff. What is the time frame for the use of temporary shelters right across the city?
So I think I mentioned at the beginning. I think a lot of that time frame depends on what the second round, the second wave of COVID is going to look like, and as well how long we need to continue to maintain the public health recommendations around physical distancing within shelter sites. So that's really those are really going to be the two dictating factors in terms of how long we have to continue to use our additional COVID sites for caring for our clients.
Great, thank you very much. Next question is also for the city staff. These programs are short-term fixes. Long-term, what is the city doing in terms of permanent housing for low-income and homeless individuals?
Okay, so I mean, first off, we've got relationships with a whole bunch of really great shelter providers, including the ones that are on the calls today, who work really hard to try and support all of our shelter clients into permanent housing. Some require way more support and service than others. But we've got great relationships with them, and I know that all of them, kind of 35 of our shelter providing agencies, at all of our shelters are doing that work. More specifically to COVID, there's been a number of things that we have been doing more recently. Where we've increased the amount of funding substantially to the Rent Bank, which is a program that the city funds to help ensure and prevent evictions from happening in the community. We also, at the beginning of the pandemic, initiated a rapid rehousing program that we and have successfully housed through a number of different means about 1,300 people. And that, of course, doesn't include all the work that all of our shelter providers are doing. This is just directly through our city programs, and also through our work with the Housing Secretariat, which is responsible for building affordable housing. We've seen the creation of 100 units of modular housing in Councillor Bailau's board that are going to be in place by the end of 2020, and an additional 150 more in the spring of 2021. And there's going to be a lot of continued and amplified work in that regard to make sure that we're finding and accessing additional sites to provide the affordable and supportive housing that's really needed for our shelter clients. So there is a huge mountain to climb. There's a lot of work to be done, but there's a lot of heavy lifting that's already happening in that regard. The city is working and partnering with the United Way on a shelter recovery strategy. And we've also worked with all of our community partners to get their input into that strategy, which is actually going to be presented to council, I believe this month or the beginning of September. So we're working really hard to plan for the future and to plan for a more housing-based future as opposed to a shelter-based one. So that's the work that we're doing right now.
Great, thank you so much. Next question is for our shelter program staff. Is there any issues that have risen from, like, maybe on the clinical health, psychiatric? Is there psychiatric support for the clients? Are there meetings going to be held with the clients to review the Good Neighbors policy and their responsibilities as a resident, signs being posted, anything like that?
Yeah, I can take a crack, and then Alex, if you want to expand a bit. But yes, besides the signage, we have regular tenant meetings as well, where we talk about community issues and have announcements, talk about policies and regulations. And then we have groups and support groups on site as well, where we can also echo these good neighbor policies. But I know just it's part of our intensive case management team and our frontline staff to work with our clients and make sure that they're dealing with those issues when they arise. Alex, I don't know if you can expand on that. Or anybody from EVAS or Kennedy, if you guys have a different approach.
So at EVAS, we make referrals. So we work with Inner City Health Associates, and we have both a physician and a psychiatrist that is associated with our shelters. So any young person that requires any support, psychiatric supports, we can do a direct referral to them and have them directly access the psychiatrist or physician. Those clinics run weekly. In addition to that, we have partnerships with the Gerstein Center, for instance, with East Metro Youth Services. So they all provide specific counselors to address any issues, any sort of mental health issues. Residence meetings happen once a week, and in those residence meetings, we go over what the responsibilities are of everyone that lives in the community. And we also talk to young people in terms of when issues do come up, for them to come and talk to us first, so that rather than sort of letting them bottle up and then express them out in the community, we ask them to actually come with us. And the staff touch base with young people throughout the day, every day. So there's never a time when we are not in contact with the young people that we are serving. So that's the practice at EVAS.
So,
sorry, Megan. Go for it, Megan.
Go.
No, you got it. Take it.
I was just going to piggyback off Grace because we're youth as well. So same with Kennedy House. We have a case management process that our staff is meeting with the youth, goal setting. We also sit down as an entire team and do a clinical. So we know where all of the youth are at all times in terms of their growth and their goal setting and pieces like that. So just to piggyback off that, and one of the actually incredible things about being at the Delta is that Kennedy House did not have any direct connection to on-site medical. And through the Delta, we've actually been able to connect with Inner City Health Associates to give our youth that as well. So it's actually been a great kind of connection. So similar to Eva's, we do the outsourcing, the referrals, but we've now connected to Inner City for our youth. So that's incredible.
So I just wanted to add a little bit more on the mental health side of things. I'll echo what Eva and Kennedy House is saying. We're in constant communication with our clients as well, at least the frontline staff are. And, you know, any issues that do arise, we try to respond as quickly as possible. I think I want to take the opportunity to maybe give some or a lot of credit to the 42 division because they've really stepped up in trying to learn who we are and the population we're serving and, you know, how we can respond to any emergencies that don't cause a ripple effect in any way and put anybody at risk. And, you know, just, you know, who's going to be the response group to respond to any issues, especially surrounding mental health emergencies. So I just wanted to say thank you for that because it also really helps our response become a little bit more efficient. And I mean, I think this all kind of boils down to communication. The more that myself, the team, ITJA, our stakeholders, everyone is communicating, the more we can stay on top of everybody's safety. I also want to say that despite there being 3 shelters on site, we're all keeping an eye on each other. You know, there's been times where Eva's client, you know, has had a hard time. We'll let them know. Kennedy, the same thing. We want at the end of the day for everyone just to remember that this whole building, we want to keep everybody safe, and that's emotionally, mentally, and physically. So we're going to do whatever we can to make sure that happens.
Okay, this question, I'm not sure who can answer it, but I've had residents reach out and say that they've noticed people walking around the building with yellow vests on. Anybody have a clue who these people are?
That's the community safety team.
Okay, perfect.
I'll just add to that. We have a very large and excited group of clients who want to be a cleanup crew. They're very determined to make sure that the outside of the building looks as presentable as possible at all times. They most likely will also have yellow vests on. They won't have the writing on the back like the community safety team, but our guys will have actually a t-shirt that looks like this. They'll be identified as Homes First. They'll have, you know, gloves on, a safety vest, but my gosh, are they excited? And I have to tell them that, you know, we can't have 200 people at once going outside and cleaning the building, unfortunately, because I think they'd really love to be able to do that.
Great, thank you so much. Can we just hear from Kennedy House, Eva's Place, Homes First, and the city as to whom the residents can reach out to regarding any questions, follow-up questions they may have, or issues that may arise? Is there a contact name and number, or a number that you guys can give out to the residents?
Sure.
Brad, do you want to start?
So I just in terms of contact information, I think we can certainly put some information together, but my understanding is that Homes First is you guys have kind of already been out, and I know Eva's and Kennedy House have been out in the community and provided some contact information. So I don't want to confuse it by giving different contact information. So I'm wondering what the best approach would be to get that consolidated information out to the community. I'm thinking most specifically around direct response issues, which is, you know, kind of related. How can we get the community safety team out if there's stuff happening that potentially the community would like addressed? So, and I know that there's already been some work done. So maybe I'll ask Ryan to throw a little bit more information out there about that.
Yeah. So, yeah, people want to get involved. Part of what my job is not only, having these conversations and facilitating your questions and concerns with communities, but really creating partnerships and bridging the gap between the external community and within the shelter. So that we do have the cleanup program going at Kennedy, at the Delta. Right now it is just residents, but at another one of our shelters, we have a similar team that goes out twice a week. They have like an hour where they clean the surrounding area. But we've also created a partnership with the community where we get community residents involved and we do sort of a community clean. We've incorporated a barbecue with some of them in certain situations. But it also involves harm reduction training as part of it. So not only do we clean up the community and build relationships, but we also talk about harm reduction, how to properly dispose of sharps in the area if we do find any. We provide everybody with the proper equipment and PPE required, puncture-proof gloves. And we just talk about what harm reduction is and what that training is and safe use and things like that. And it is a great opportunity. So if people do want to get involved or if they have questions or concerns or complaints, my email, I'll just type it, or we can circulate my contact information somehow to everybody. But yeah, questions and comments and concerns I'll take, but also if you're interested in either, learning more, getting involved, joining us at an event, volunteering your services, or starting some sort of community program or initiative, please do get in touch with Alex or I, but any community event, I'm sort of the person for Homes First.
So Ryan, I'm just wondering about community safety team specific. So is there I guess the question is, what's the path for, just conscious of all the folks that are listening right now that are, at home or in their businesses, how, if they need to reach out about something, how do they do that?
Yeah, if they need, okay, there's a couple different ways. So obviously if there's an emergency, 911, or as Jim was saying, getting in touch with 42 Division, their community neighborhood officers are great at dealing with those community concerns and those kind of issues. They really are the experts. For shelter support and shelter services and those kind of inquiries, you can dial 211. For city bylaw stuff, 311. But for anything Delta related, whether for our dealing with clients or getting involved, my information, so you can email me or contact me. Alex can circulate. She's the site manager. You can contact her and we can address your concerns and make sure we're pointing you in the right direction as best we can. If you want to get involved as a community safety team, one initiative we've done at one of our other shelters is trying to organize community safety walks and safe walks. We can definitely organize that and talk about how we can facilitate those conversations and that initiative as well. Sorry, does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, I think probably as a suggestion, a counselor into the community that's listening is we'll put together a sheet of contact information that includes a city contact, contacts at the site, and how also we can get in contact with the more immediate responding folks that are in the community in terms of the community safety team. So we'll put together a list of contacts and we'll get that to you as quickly as possible, hopefully tomorrow, so that we can send that out to everybody that's listening to us on the call, so that there's some information at hand for you to be able to use.
Great, thank you. Could we also have someone from 42 Division send over some information or a number that residents could call if they have an issue to add to that list?
Yeah, it's Jim Mayer, and I'll make sure that that's
Sergeant Shaw? Oh, okay. Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, that was all of the questions that we received today. Is there anyone from either of the shelters or the city who would like to add anything else before I hand it over to the counselor? Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. You guys answered a lot of questions, and I'm sure the residents are well informed at this point. If any of the residents do have any questions that were not addressed through this meeting, if they can just forward it to the counselor's office and we will have it answered. Again, thank you. Have a good evening. And now I'm going to hand it over to the Councillor Karygiannis.
I want to thank city staff. I want to thank the participants from the shelter providers and the police for joining us tonight. To everybody that's listening, if we did not answer any of your questions, please send it to us and we will certainly send it along. And if there's another follow-up that's required, I'll get the city folks to put it together. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and we will get you that information by email in the next 48 hours. Thank you very much. Have yourself a wonderful evening. Please stay safe.
Thank you, everyone.